bring in to the outside area? Yeah. So if you heard the earlier announcement, we're getting packages, used clothes and shoes, put them in clear bags, the white plastic bags. So they will be given to one of the non-profit organization, and we will get money, inshallah, which will go to Gaza, and the masjid will get a percentage as well, inshallah. So by the 15, get your bags ready, and you can bring them here, inshallah, for that card. So the pickup date, final pickup date, Saturday the 22nd. So all the, what's that? By Friday, all the bags should be here, inshallah. We'll make more announcement as we go. Brother Shamil will give us the khatir, inshallah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على محمد وعلى أهله وصحبه أجمعين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Just a continuation in a little bit more detail of what we spoke about last Sunday, about how the revelation subhanallah would come to the Prophet ﷺ, and a description of the magnificence of the Quran being brought down to the earth. So the Quran, we know, is the word of Allah, and it was given from Allah to Jibreel. So directly the word of Allah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala given to Jibreel, and then Jibreel alayhi salam would bring it down to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we have to remember that the Quran that we have and that we're reading is the direct words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that we are reading the words from Allah himself directly to us. So it's said that as Jibreel would bring the Quran down from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and bring it down to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the angels would be around him, and when the Quran was being revealed to him, the noise was so loud in the heavens that it was like chains being dragged over a mountain. And the angels would faint as the Quran was being revealed. And then as Jibreel was coming down, they would ask him, what did Allah tell you? What did Allah tell you? And Jibreel alayhi salam would say, Al-Haq, Al-Haq, Al-Haq. So again, the direct words of Allah being brought down. And then Jibreel would bring it to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we know how the first revelation, Surah Al-Alaq, came to the Prophet ﷺ in the cave, but the might of the Quran and the magnificence of the Quran, how heavy and how much of its weight, that Jibreel alayhi salam was squeezing the Prophet so much that the Prophet felt he was going to faint from the strength of Jibreel. And then Surah Al-Alaq came down. We know in Surah Al-Hashr, ayah 21, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس لعلهم يتفكرون. So this ayah, let me get the English translation. Had we sent down this Quran on a mountain, truly you would have seen it humble itself and break apart for fear of Allah. Such are the similitudes which we propound to men that they may reflect. So the weight and the greatness of the Quran is so huge that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descended on a mountain, the mountain would be flattened, would be destroyed. So imagine now the Quran coming on a man, on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was a man, right? He wasn't any super hero or superhuman being. He was maybe in some ways, but he was a man. And so this was a great heavy weight on him when it would be revealed. and he would describe how difficult it was. It would come in different ways. One of the ways is that he would be hearing the sound of a bell as the Quran was being revealed to him. And it would come to him at any time, while he was walking, while he was riding his camel, while he was with the Sahaba. Different times, different ways. Sometimes we know it was revealed in a particular situation because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to explain or show the Sahaba something particular, or being given to the Prophet ﷺ as a comfort to him and as a way to show him that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was with him. So the Prophet ﷺ said it sometimes came with a sound like the sound of a bell, and that is the hardest one to me. Aisha radiallahu anha would describe that when the Quran was being revealed to the Prophet ﷺ, he would sweat profusely, even when it was a very cold day, and he would shiver, and his body would get heavy. Zayd ibn Thabit describes one time the Prophet his leg was leaning against his leg, and he started getting revelation, and the leg of the Prophet ﷺ became so heavy against his leg that he felt his leg was broken, Zayd ibn Thabit, and that his leg would never be able to walk on it again. That's how heavy the Prophet ﷺ would become when he was getting revelation. Some would say that the Prophet ﷺ, those that are trying to disrepute his prophethood, that he was having a seizure or convulsion or some out-of-body experience, but subhanallah, he would get the revelation and immediately be able to recite it. So he didn't have any period in between, which often happens with a seizure, where there was some loss of consciousness or some unawareness. He would immediately be able to reveal it. Sometimes with seizures, you can actually urinate on yourself or defecate on yourself, and we know that this never happened to the Prophet ﷺ. So this is not true, what some of the doubters say, even though it was a tremendous weight and they would see the Prophet ﷺ shiver and sweat. The Sahaba actually, Umar was asked about what it was like when the Prophet ﷺ was getting revelation, and he described that they would sometimes hear the sound of bees, like the buzzing of bees as it was being revealed to him, that they would hear. So again, this is other evidence that this is not something just happening to the Prophet. The other Sahaba around him could see what was happening and how it was being brought down by Jibreel. Most of the surahs came down in pieces, different portions revealed at different times. There were some surahs that were revealed in their entirety. One of them actually was Surah Al-An'am. Surah Al-An'am was one of the few surahs that was revealed all at once. It's more than 20 pages, I think, very long and weighty. And one of the hadith describes that when Jibreel was bringing Surah Al-An'am down from the heavens, 70,000 angels were escorting him as he brought it down to the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet ﷺ was on his camel when this happened, and the camel, as would happen many other times, because of the weight, the camel would buckle and not be able to stand. So the camel would kneel down because, again, of the weight and the magnificence of the Quran being brought down to the Prophet ﷺ. So we should try to remember this as we read the Quran. Sometimes we're just reading it, as pages of a book. But the magnificence and the weight of the Quran, we see how the revelation came to the Prophet and how it was such a tremendous thing for him and on his body. So we ask Allah to let us understand the Quran and understand also the magnificence of the Quran and how beautiful and astounding it is, and how our Prophet ﷺ was able to accept it and reveal it to us. Jazakumullah khair. May Allah continue to guide us and help us and help the Muslims around the world. Jazakumullah khair.